Due to the following CBS School Break special, Magnum PI will not be seen today. It will be broadcast tomorrow in the regular time period.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
That's, me kind of doing a very light take on the version of Batman I was raised by, which is sort of post Neil Adams take, which he was doing the year I was born. Neil Adams was redefining the character kind of in the cracks and corners of DC when he was first a cover artist on a lot of the Batman books in the late 60s, and then once they gave him sort of the run of the place, his look, he kind of exaggerated even more with the lighting and the grandeur, the way he would exaggerate the figure form, the length of the ears, the length of the cape. A lot of it was just sort of aesthetics. He wasn't really changing the costume per se. I tried to illustrate what Adams did with a sense of maybe somewhat photo exacting kind of take on it, while also kind of avoiding some of the comic book tropes of the glowing white eyes, which I was always having a problem with as a kid, thinking about like how the mask is pretty much on his face like it's makeup. Like it's as close to the skin as you can get the way it was drawn by everybody, Adams included. And if that's the case, there's no room to hide the eyelashes for the human being wearing this mask, so basically just his natural eyes showing, but you can hide that in shadow.
Welcome back, everybody. Time again for another Word Balloon Live, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here, live from Ireland. And I didn't ask what town now. I usually say Dublin, but he was just telling me he no longer lives in Dublin. One of the great Irish comic creators. It's Declan Shalvey, everybody. Declan Shalvey, welcome back to Word Balloon.
Thanks very much, John. What do you mean one of? One of the greatest. I mean, I got you on the ball here now. Am I the best or am I not the best? It's okay.
I respect that.
I know what it is.
I absolutely so. I don't want to slight our buddy Steve Mooney. I don't want to slight Will Slide. I
want to slight all of them.
I was just saying off the air, I cannot wait, man. I'm so excited to see Ireland and visit you guys when the next Dublin Comic Con happens in March. Owen McCauley, incredibly kind to invite me to the show and pay the freight, and it is freight. I'm not a small boy. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. No, I'm really looking forward to it. Dude, I started to say, and we started talking about other things. You have trimmed down. You look great, man.
Oh, thanks, man. I mean,
really?
Yeah, I don't know. Good. I'll take that over the opposite. I was doing the opposite for far too long.
Well, COVID did the whammy on a lot of us, and
that's it. Yeah,
put us in.
I coughed the fat off. I don't know, but no, thanks, man. Cheers.
But of course, but I'm really excited to talk to you. Among other things, Old Boy is collected, and
Old Dog.
I'm sorry, Old Boy.
That's all right.
The crime movie, Old Dog. Your fine comic.
That's fine. If people think that's what it is and they pick it up by accident, that's fine with me.
When is
sale is a sale?
When's the release date for Old Dog?
Today. It's out today.
Oh, it's out today. Fantastic, outstanding from Image. I'll show some images from Old Dog. Let's show some of this beautiful art. And man, I'll tell you, these are ancillary characters, but there he is. There's the man. Mm-hmm. So yeah, tell people about give them the 10-cent tour on what Old Dog is.
Sure. Well, Old Dog is an action adventure sci-fi series. Kind of I've described it as Winter Soldier meets Mission Impossible, but it's a story about a CIA agent who's on his last mission before he gets turfed out the door, and something very weird and spectacular happens, which basically gives him kind of like enhanced abilities where he can. Part of the idea is I wanted to draw Clint Eastwood punching people through walls, so that's how I justified it. But yeah, so he wakes up years later with these kind of weird abilities, and he's paired with somebody, or he's hired, or he's what's the word? He's appropriated by this very like secret government agency, which means he basically gets a new lease on life to be a super agent again. But he's paired with, I can give it away now because the book's out. He's paired with his estranged daughter, who does not like him. So visually, it's kind of like a Nick Fury Black Widow team up book in a way. You know, that was some of the kind of inspiration behind it. But it's also kind of like a family drama story mixed with big high octane adventures. Like every issue was a different adventure. So one set in Russia, one set in Colombia, one set in Ireland, actually. So it's just kind of every segment of it is like a big action adventure story, but like there's a very deep emotional story going through the whole thing. And I wrote it, and I drew it, and I colored it, and I designed it, and I'm very tired now.
There's the old dog right there. Also, you know, ironic timing, Deck, because the story, and I know it was created independent of this, but since you started the miniseries on Netflix, they released Fubar, which is kind of like True Lies, where it's Arnold Schwarzenegger and his daughter working.
Oh, is that I know the show, but I didn't know. I didn't know that was a story. Well, actually, issue 1 was coming out the same time as The Old Man, the Jeff Bridges show, and I was like, oh. You know, I was thinking, oh damn it, people think I ripped it off, but it's a very different show.
Sure,
they're very different concepts, but like mine is, you know, it gets more sci-fi as it goes along, you know, like very in places, but yeah, I didn't know that was the thing. I guess I'm definitely not going to watch it now because I don't want that in my head.
Well, and I remember early on, and I don't remember I'd have to look back at when it was coming out. It was either right before or right after Word Balloon started. Kirkman had his series Brit, which was like a super soldier, senior citizen, and
really?
yes, and I'm glad you're not aware of it, Deck, because again, truly different story, but elements of the same kind of thing in a positive way. And I've always
I mean. There's plenty of like I know other people who are like, oh, I want to do this book, but this book exists. There's this book, and I don't want people to think I'm ripping it off. And I would always say to them, it's not going to be the same because you are doing it. Like whatever that thing is, you're doing your own thing. So it's not like there's lots of ideas about super spies. There's lots of ideas about School of Assassins, or like lots of these things have been done. But I think it's how it's the execution which really steals the deal. Like honestly, it was more Sleeper was kind of part of the like I'm a big Brubaker Phillips fan, and I loved all the Wildstorm stuff, and I kind of wanted to do that. I kind of wanted to do a Shield book in the vein of Wildstorm, you know. Like you couldn't say some of the things, the language and whatnot, you couldn't do in a Marvel comic. But it just was I just kind of, what would I like to do? And I just kind of I just put all the ingredients of stuff that would keep me entertained and engaged on a series. And it all came out like this. So it's probably a little less spy organization than I planned it to be, because the nature of done in one issues is kind of hard to, like there's some ancillary characters, but it's mainly just Jack and his daughter. And because when you're doing done in ones, you're really trying to concentrate on the main characters, and then all of a sudden you don't really have the room to kind of work on the side ones. But I did a little bit here and there, you know. It was difficult to do, but I think I pulled it off.
I think you pulled it off excellently. Absolutely, man. And forgive me, was it Bog Brothers, your previous crime?
No, Bog Bodies.
Bog Bodies, excuse me. Yeah, man. No, Deck, you know what you're doing with crime comics. And that's why I was really excited about Old Dog. Like I said, it reminded me of Brit. It also reminded me, I don't know about design in your mind, but because again, there is great difference here. but the shock white hair, the old man, kind of gives me a Lee Marvin vibe from Point Blank, the John Borman film.
All right, that's cool. No, I mean it was kind of more Clint-esque. I was thinking,
Sure.
Or I mean not visually, but kind of a little bit character-wise, Mike Ehrmantraut, or a lot of the just grizzled old bastards, like I love those characters, and like they're great fun to draw. Like, I was someone so used to drawing like, beautiful superheroes, getting to draw like all the kind of like craggy, saggy skin on the neck, and like all the and the ear, like his back, the back of his head is all wrinkled, and his neck, and it's just so much fun to draw. So it was just this justification for that. But no, I can't say that was. But I mean, we're talking the same vein of stuff for sure. A lot of people kind of said Marv from Sin City, which like it wasn't deliberate, but I mean, you kind of can't get around. I did want a blockhead character because again, they're just more fun to draw.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And it's definitely steeped in some of the crime stuff, as you're saying. Like to me, I get to draw a crime book, I get to draw an action book, I get to draw a sci-fi book, all in one. Because of the genre, you can kind of do it all. And while it is sci-fi in places, I wanted it grounded, which is kind of where the crime espionage stuff is. Like I love that genre. And I hadn't gotten a chance to do it in like mainstream work. So I was like, that was just a cool thing. I remember I was doing some Marvel pitches at the time, and this didn't work out for whatever reason. And I just remember thinking, like, I'm just going to come up with my own thing and pitch the Image, and I would say it's likely it would get accepted, and it did. And then I just got to do whatever I wanted for. Well, I mean, it took me like a year and a half to do 6 issues, so I wasn't very fast. But I did just I wanted to do a book that was just all me. I've written for other people, and I've drawn for other people, and I've done creator owned, and I've done work for hire, and I wanted to do like a Marvel book, or a Wildstorm-esque book of my own. And I'm just really, really happy I was able to do that. It's just kind of weird, actually. It's done now. I mean, I'm going to do more of it, but just to have that first chunk of story done, it's very, very satisfying. Because it was a lot of work, and I don't want to sound like a baby, but because other people have done more accomplished bodies of work than I have. But for me, yeah, this is pretty tough. But I'm, as a result, quite satisfied.
Alex Savick, the fine, speaking of Marvel and DC artists, says Crime Comics awesome. That would be fun to draw. So so maybe to speed up the process, you might want to talk to Alex.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd love to draw crime. I was actually thinking, what would I do, for the creator thing, and I have an idea for a crime comic, but it's one I want to draw. But I felt if I did Old Dog first, that because it's more mainstreamy, if that makes sense. Like I said, it's kind of like a Shield book. Yeah. So if you like Shield, or you like Nick Fury, you could read this. And if this book did well enough, I felt like maybe I'd have more. Not justification, but it would be more likely a weirder concept, or a less commercial idea might have legs under it if I did well under one.
Just like what Ed and Sean did with Sleeper, being in the Wildstorm universe, and look at what they're doing now with Reckless and the other things that they do. And I think, certainly, Sleeper to Criminal to Reckless and everything. No, it's a progression. I absolutely.
Well, actually, it's like I don't know about you, but I'm sure you feel this way. Like, I don't give a crap what the story's about at this stage. If the two of those guys do a book, I'm buying it. I bought every one of the Reckless. The Night Fever, I got. I haven't read it yet. And the new one coming out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the story is. I don't care. It's just it's going to be great.
No, and they've really kind of developed a rhythm where they're doing 2 books a year at least, and I love that they're doing pure graphic novel. That's great, and they've got it down to a science. And God, I've been wanting to talk to Sean since Sleeper and since I started Word Balloon, and we've danced around. It hasn't happened yet. I'm hoping for their December release. That I mean, and Ed, God bless Ed for always coming back and being willing to talk, and that always means a lot. Here, great comments from Mark McGrath. First of all, he says love Old Dog and Time Before Time. We'll talk about Time Before Time.
Cool.
He also Another great performance of a senior citizen action guy, Terrence Stamp in The Limey for
Yeah,
Bastards. Absolutely, man.
yeah. I actually rewatched that not too long ago. Actually, I'd kind of forgotten about it, but I was like, yeah, this is. I mean, it's just a great opportunity to like just writing mean characters is more fun.
Oh yeah.
Little like, and also like a protagonist that isn't necessarily the good guy is always more fun than
Oh,
like
absolutely.
he's not really the good guy as such, but that's just more characters a little bit of ambiguity are always more fun, you know.
Absolutely. And I was thinking too, truly, although there was a flavor of it when she was doing Prime Suspect, but I'd love to see Helen Mirren be a badass, senior. That certainly, we got a taste of it in the Red movies,
Yeah,
but
I was
those
just
are
gonna
funny
say, yeah.
too. But I would love to see Helen Mirren do a female Liney essentially, and be a badass.
Well, it's not Limey, but there was one film that she did there. I think it was about like her and two other great actors. I've been watching a lot of espionage films, as you might imagine. But there's one where I think it might be The Promise, maybe. No, I don't know. It's Kieran Hines and her and another actor, and they're playing spies that like did a mission years ago. I think it was like to get one of the Eichmann or something. Like they were, I think they might have been Mossad agents, maybe.
Oh
I might be
wow.
mixing up with another film, but yeah, it was really good. But so it's younger actors back when they did the mission, and like the emotional fallout years later when they're older. Like it was pretty class.
I've been someone on YouTube posted all of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy and Smiley's people from the 80s.
Yeah, and
Alec
I
Guinness.
gotta,
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta go back on that actually. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, and yes, Mark, you're right. She's in of course, with Bob Hoskins, she's in the Long Good Friday. Yes, indeed. Wonderful film.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's at least in the States, that was our first exposure to Hoskins. And it's like, oh my God, it's the second coming of Edward G. Robinson. I mean, he was, God, I miss him. He was so fucking brilliant.
I was Who Framed Roger Rabbit would have been my first Hoskins film. Slightly different.
But about 2 or 3 years, I want to say 79 or 80 for Long Good Friday. And yeah, it's middle-aged Helen Mirren. It's 40-something Helen Mirren, as opposed to senior citizen Helen Mirren, who
as
is
opposed to super hot senior citizen.
Yeah, it did. Well, that's God bless Helen Mirren, man. I mean, much like Sophia Loren, it's like, yeah, still hot. It's okay. Well into her 2 years, but it's like, no, she's still Helen Mirren. I don't know how to break it to you. So yeah, man. No, she's great. God, here on American TV, she was on Stephen Colbert's late night show the first time she was on, and she just walked up to him and kissed him, like grabbed his head and kissed him, and he's like, "Wow." And she's like, "I'm sorry, I really love your show. I've always wanted to do that." And he's like, "I'm not complaining."
She'd get away with it too. Don't think anyone's going to complain.
All right. My small, not quite equivalent. It was early 80s. I want to say 1982 or 83. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm 17. I used to be cute a long time ago. And Rita Moreno grabbed my head and kissed me. And it was like,
I don't
Rita
know. Sorry.
Moreno, she's 90 or 91 now. She's one of the main singer dancers in the original West Side Story.
Oh, right. Gotcha.
She made a great movie with Brando, and I guess had a really icky, tough relationship with Brando while they're making. I can't think of the name of it now, but it's pre-Godfather, like 69 or 68, and it's like Brando when he was still young and super cool looking, great aesthetic as far as his look and everything, and he's a hitman in this movie. And yeah, she made that. She's in Carnal Knowledge with Jack Nicholson and Anne Margaret.
Okay, right.
And at the end of the movie,
I can't think of her now because it's been a while since I've.
Yeah,
a long time since I've seen.
But
seen that.
she's an EGOT winner, Emmy Oscar,
oh really?
Emmy Tony.
Yeah,
so I've been kissed by an EGOT.
I know what that is because of 30 Rock. So.
Dennis Hoffman, Deck, been loving Old Dog and Time Before Time. Also waiting for you to steal Justin Mason back from Marvel.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. He really, really likes Marvel. Justin is he's the artist on Spider-Man 2099 Dark Genesis. We were together on an image book called Rogues Gallery. I co-wrote that with Hannah Rose May and Justin. Was working with him on something at Dynamite that didn't work out, but like he was so good. I was like, he's got to do this book, and then he got Marvel work, and it's all been because he's really, 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 really good. And yeah, you should check him out, John. Like he's really good. I remember being when we met, I was like an up and comer, like, hey, I'm trying to make it, and like now I realize I've been doing this like 13 years, and I don't know, like anybody coming up under is like really, really good. I'm like, I don't like it. I'm threatened by all the young ones. You know?
I remember 10 years ago, my man, when Jeff Parker told me about you. I got this guy Declan Shalvey. He's pretty good, and I'm like, yeah, he's really good. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And I really wasn't, but I got better, so it's okay.
Stop. Here, Dennis goes on and says, "Time Before Time has been consistently the best looking ongoing book the last few years. How do you decide on the artist for each arc and one shot?"
That's a good question. Well, Joe Palmer was the original artist and co-creator, and he had a book he wanted to do himself, and I wanted a book I wanted to do myself, so I couldn't really criticize him for his decision. I think who we get originally was, I can't even remember now. It was volume 3. It was a couple of different guys. It was it was more people who I liked, and people who, I mean, Ron Salas was the first, and I knew him for years from the Comic to Art blog. And Eric Zawadzki is an artist whose stuff I've loved for ages. And actually, Eric was originally the person I pitched a rough idea of Time Before Time to, and it became a different kind of a book. But and he wasn't able to do it because he was working at DC. So that was nice that we were able to come back and do a little thing. And then Jorge Coelho was just this guy who I thought was an amazing artist, and nobody was really, I don't want to say nobody's paying attention to, because he's done lots of great work, but you know, some people are brilliant and they don't get the attention they deserve. And I just thought he was great. And then Jeffo is drawing the last arc, and I've just known his work over the years. When I was doing the Marvel Unlimited X-Men story with John Hickman, I looked at his stuff a lot to see how he did the vertical scrolling thing. And so it's just the guys who were on my radar for a while who, I mean, I didn't know if they'd be interested, but everyone said, yeah. And the one shots, I'm trying to think, Will Morris was an artist who I loved. Mainly it's guys I probably knew a little bit and felt that, like, if I asked, they wouldn't spit in my face. Lauren Knight, again, just a really good artist, who I thought I was giving her a break by giving her a book at Image, but she already had one lined up, so that was useless. PJ Holden, I drew one. That was easy to decide. I had a month free, so I drew one. A lot of it is, I mean, there's definitely taste plays into it. It's not just anybody can kind of come in and needs to kind of suit the book. And Joe's work was so stylized, it was a little bit hard, but we figured it out in the end. Between me and Rory and Heather, we kind of were able to kind of narrow it down and pick, and it's all worked out great. I'm very relieved.
That's great to hear, man.
Yeah.
You know, I remember.
Thanks for the kind words. Like Time Before Time, it's not been a book where everyone's talking about every month, but like I just got the colors for the last issue today, so it's officially like done. Like 29 will be the last. And 29 will be the last issue, and I can't even believe I've done a book that's an Image book that's lasted 29 issues is pretty good.
Well, and also, honestly, Deck, this used to be an old conversation on things like when Nick Spencer was doing Morning Glories, and some of the stuff that Norton and Seeley were doing together, where you are getting past, you know, even 4 story arcs, 29, that's, 5, 6 story arcs and everything.
Yeah, it's like 5 arcs, and then there were some one shots as well. So it's 5. It's a 5 book overall plot. Well, that was what we wanted to do originally, but it's just the metrics of creator owned. Like, it's tough. Like, if you want to do creator owned book, the best advice I can say is have some money. Because me and Rory were basically financing that book, because I remember we pitched it during COVID, and there was a shutdown. So I wasn't going to go to Image and go like, hey, can you give me an advance on this unknown artist and basically unknown writer at the time, and me, so we had to take the risk there, and thankfully it worked out, and we didn't know if we get past issue 5. That's always the thing, you don't know if you get past issue 5, so you want to know what you want to do later on, but you don't know if you'll get there. But I'm just really glad that we were able to land the plane where we, at the end of the runway, we didn't get cut short. That was my main worry, is we'd get short. But no, we're getting to the end, so I'm just very relieved. Like, to do a 5 volume storyline is great. I'm delighted.
I wonder, and I don't think I've ever asked any international friends like yourself, but is crowdfunding that much more difficult because of the international thing as opposed to the Americans? Because as you know, certainly Kickstarter and GoFundMe and these things can certainly help a first book, get past that proof of concept point and get that initial funding to get started.
What happened was, when we did Time for Time, there was all me and Rory paying for it, and I did a Kickstarter for a process edition, which would have taken Joe's work, and so we did do that, and that was two things. It was one way to promote the series as it was coming out, to have something else, an ancillary project that also promoted the main project.
Yeah,
and we was able to use that money to pay, to basically cover the costs of the first arc, which was helpful to have a little bit more of a cash injection. It wasn't. I mean, we didn't do it for the book itself. We did it for the process book, and that money went back into the book basically. And I think that did help us keep keep it on track for longer than we probably would have had to, or would have been able to otherwise. And similarly, I'm doing. If anyone is unaware, there's 4 more days of I'm doing a process edition for Old Dog, where I'm taking all of the first issue and showing the pencils and the inks and everything, just because that's not so much where I'm trying to make money back to pay for everything, because Image gave me the advance on Old Dog, but I just really wanted to do that book. Everyone who seems to like my work seems to like process stuff whenever I post pencils or layouts. So I've always wanted to do a book that actually had all of that. I would say it's a bit tougher this time because it's a thicker book, therefore shipping costs are higher, and I think that probably has had a few people go I'm not paying, because I'm sending it from Ireland,
right.
But then again, I'm used to getting books from America all the time, and I gotta eat that cost myself. So, but again, if it's too much for some people, I totally get it. But I have a feeling it might be it's tough to ask people to pay that much for postage. I get it, but yeah, it's hard to know. I just think it's really hard to get your stuff out there now. The usual formats are not as efficient, or the reach is just not there like it was 2, 5, 6 years ago. But to answer your question, yes, it's helpful. I haven't crowdfunded an actual comic. I don't know what that would be like. I don't know if it would work to be successful. Maybe be more successful. I see some artists who are doing crowdfunding for an issue and getting 50,000. I'm like, holy crap! That's unreal. And I just haven't done that, and I don't know. It might be something to try sometime down the line. But if Image are willing to publish me, I'll happily do my books at Image. I love it there.
That's great. Speaking of process books, Comic Boom. I always love listening to creators explain their process of creating comics. It isn't common that we get a process edition of comic books. So great to see this from Declan. He said that. And by the way, regarding Time Before Time, Dennis wants you to know that it's the first book. Whoops, not that one. Not that one, Deck. No, Dennis. Here it is.
Sorry.
First book I read every week that it comes out.
Oh, that's really cool. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, no, it's just kind of it's that's great. It's tough keeping a monthly book going past the first arc, because attention just moves on to the next books that are coming out. So it's an uphill battle for sure.
Well, that's kind of my point, Deck. Absolutely, that once you get past 2 or 3 arcs, the shiny new thing is there, and as we know, it's a competitive shelf when it comes to new comics and things. So no, it's hard.
I'd even say after the first issue, not even after the first 3 arcs, after the first issue's out, it kind of moves on, unless you get options and things that you can do press releases and stuff like that, and would be nice to be able to do those things. If you're just trying to make a book though every month, I'd say we're in a lucky place where we couldn't afford to keep doing the book past this arc. but it's okay because we were happy to get this far, you know.
Okay, that's great, man. No, excellent. Comic Boom also says Rogues Gallery has a very timely and culturally reflective premise. It would make a great Netflix movie. Tell me, what is Rogues Gallery?
So that's the project I mentioned earlier with Justin Mason and Hannah Rose May. It was like came out last year. It was like a 4-issue miniseries. And it was basically an idea Hannah had, and she didn't have experience making a comic, and I did. So I kind of helped her like take the concept and break it down into like a 4-issue miniseries, and got the team together. Justin and Trina Farrell colored it, and Hassan Esmane Alao lettered it, and yeah, it was just like a tight kind of like, you know, commentary on, I guess, fandom, but also like the media sphere of comics. It was about a woman who, like, she plays a superhero on one of the kind of CW shows, and then she quits the show and it gets cancelled, and the fans blame her, and so it's kind of like a weird home invasion story with cosplayers. Like it was very kind of a dark concept, but also kind of weirdly worked with like how comics are in media and media aren't necessarily in comics, and how the connection between properties, like it was I think it was nice. That's why I helped her do it, because I thought there was a really cool idea there somewhere, and for it to be a comic as well that was talking about media rather than the other way around, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, the trade's out now, and looks great. It looks like Justin, brilliant artist, looks great. Cool idea. Actually, check it out.
I would love to check it out. That's and
I'd say it was more Hannah's, like, it was Hannah's idea, and I just helped her like basically make it a comic and give her notes. Like, I wanted to help somebody get a comic through the door, because it can. I know I'm all about like artists, but it is hard for writers
sure.
to break in, you know.
Absolutely.
My advice is have a career as an artist for 10 years and then start writing.
That seems to be the Declan Shalvey game plan. I understand. Honestly, Dec, and we've talked about it before, you certainly have even looked around Ireland to find new artists and help them. And didn't you have kind of a school going where you were kind of helping people get started?
Yeah, it was like we took me and Jordi Badair shared a studio for a few years, and we would take on, like, it wouldn't be a school as such, but like an apprenticeship program. So we'd take one on, and just kind of one or two people, and kind of help them over a while. But like Elle Power was one of them, and she's working like in animation now, doing cool stuff. And Old Marin was the next one. Well, the only next one I didn't. I got it was after I did it again. I was exhausted. I'm like, I'm done. Like, this is. It's not hard. It's just I remember after a while, it's like I kind of need to start looking after myself again, rather than always trying to help everybody else, you know. And Jordi helps some great colorists. Like, there's a lot of colorists coming out of Ireland, and it's not really a coincidence, you know.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, I'm all about me now, though, John. You know,
there's nothing wrong with that, man.
Number one right here.
As I've gotten to know Owen Macaulay, and also Pulse College, that's great. Here in Chicago, we have Columbia College, which is a wonderful accredited school that teaches you the liberal arts program, but really does have wonderful graphic art. Tim Seeley teaches graphic art, animation, and storytelling art. There's video classes, there's audio classes, and I'm really glad that there are more schools like that are taught by good industry people that can really pass on their skills.
Yeah, like I was teaching a course for a couple of years in the Irish Writer Centre in Dublin, and that's how I met Gavin Fullerton, who ended up drawing Bog Bodies, because I saw his work and I was like, holy crap, like, this guy is amazing. I want to make something for him, you know. Like, now and then you'll find people who are like, these guys are ready, but they just lack like the platform to show what they can do. And now Gavin since then is working with James Tinian and all that, so he doesn't need me anymore, so whatever. But no, like, I wouldn't be where I am. Like without Jeff Parker, I wouldn't be where I am. Without people taking like an interest in you and giving opportunities, like that's how you get good people in comics. It's like, here's someone who's great and talented. Some people are great and not talented, and some people are talented and not great. And And when you meet somebody who's both, you just want to. Same with Justin with the Rogues Gallery book. It was like, this guy is lovely person, talented, hardworking. They deserve a shot, And it's not like you can always provide it. It's not like I'm a comic book company, but sometimes you might know of an opportunity here, and they don't know about this creator, and this creator is unaware of this opportunity, but you actually see both, and you're like, hey, you can make some connections for people, and they can do well, Yeah, I think it's just part of how comics work in the good way.
Yeah, paying it forward. Absolutely, man. No, and again, doesn't surprise me. I know that Jeff has been that kind of creator, and you're following in that same vein of finding newcomers and connecting them to opportunities. I think that's wonderful.
But also, when they become really successful, then cashing in on favors. I mean, it's really, I think, thinking down the line. It's an investment in it's insurance of some kind. It's like, I spent time and energy on you. Give me work now. That's how I see it. I'm going to cash in a lot of favors in a few years.
Dennis wants to know, he loved Bog Bodies, and yes, another one that we've talked about in the past, Savage Town. Any news on other Irish set crime original graphic novels?
Yes and no. I definitely have an idea I'd like to do. Like, I've had this for 2 years now, and I'd really like to do it, but I want to draw that one. But it's hard to write and draw a graphic novel when you're writing and drawing a series. So I don't know when I'm going to get to do it. I think what I'd like to do in the meantime is maybe write another one for another artist. But I have an idea for creator and thing. I want to pitch the image soon. I'd say the next thing will be that, because I like the idea of kind of continuing on this very loose, like, they're independent stories, but like similar genre.
Yes.
And like, it's been a while since Bog Bodies came out, like, so I would like to get something going. I was thinking about an anthology at one point, because there's so many good creators around Ireland. But it's not the most marketable idea. It's tough enough selling like a small Irish crime graphic novel. That's hard enough, but like, making an anthology is, I think, less. Not like, I love anthologies and I'd love to do them, but like, who's going to buy it I'm not really sure.
I trust what you're telling me, Deck, but I got to be honest, as a reader, I am thrilled to read international crime stories that are happening in cities that aren't familiar to me. And I mean, a locale, God, even something, and I don't know if if we ever talked about this, more sci-fi, but it had a crime element to it too. There was that South African sci-fi show called Charlie Jade from a couple years ago, and it involved, before, like, now we're inundated with alternate universe stories, and frankly,
yeah, I know that happened fast, didn't it?
Yeah, much like zombie stories, it's like, okay, enough. I mean, and again, no disrespect to Kirkman and Charlie, because I love Walking Dead and Tony back when it started.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's like really alternate universes. But yeah, Charlie Jade was this cop who was following a crime and discovers there are 3 parallel Earths involved in, like, one is our Earth, one is a very affluent one that has all the resources you need, and it's a paradise. And the reason why it's a paradise, the third one, all the resources are being stolen from that Earth. And it was, they didn't finish the story. It was a great idea, but that, and also Strike Force, the British-made show, the military ops, special ops story that, and I forget the guy. He's like the British Tom Clancy, but it was a show that was on Cinemax for several seasons, and it was shot in South Africa. And it's like, man, just having that different locale, and there were still urban stories, but they took advantage of the topography of South Africa. And it's like, oh man, all of a sudden it just feels different. And obviously, I mean,
there's like there's a series where, like, it's a German show called Deutschland 86, I think it was, and then 87, 88, and like, and like an Israeli cop drama show. I'm like, people will watch, and they will, like, it's not like it was maybe 15 years ago where that stuff is harder. I don't mean that it's Irish, is that it would be harder to sell. It's just like, one, crime comics just don't tend, unless you're Brubaker Phillips, they're a tough sell. They don't really, I mean, it drives me crazy because they're my favorite stories. They're a tough sell. So then I think actually the Irishness is probably the thing that is more interesting for people, so
Oh,
that's
good.
fine. But I think
Okay.
my argument is just like if I did it, I think it would do okay. If I did it with somebody new, like I did with Gavin, the Bog Bodies did quite well. Um, but I think an anthology, I think anthologies generally are a harder sell, and it's not a. I
I'm
mean,
with.
that might be a thing to crowdfund, maybe, so something that would be because it's more niche. At least with like a self-contained story, it's like a novel. It's kind of an easier sell because it's just one thing. But I would like to do another one. I have a couple of ideas, but I think what I wanted to do is not just do. I wanted to write broader sci-fi stuff because I love all that stuff, and the only things I had really written were crime. So now that I've written more other things, I like say Alien being like the big sci-fi franchise, like cool. I'd actually it would be cool to write like a smaller crime story now. So I guess I didn't want to pigeonhole myself to some degree as superhero artist and crime writer. So now I think I have a bit more broad range of stuff under my belt that I'd be happily add to. I think I came up with the term paddy, or I did. Sorry, Mooney actually came up with it. Paddy whackery for those books, and I'd like to do more of them because they feel it's like I like writing Irish characters. Like, and I don't want to shove them all into anything else that I write. Like I know I did it with Old Dog a little, but he's second generation Irish. He's not, first. He's not from Ireland, but
Okay.
yeah. Sorry, I'm blabbing now. Sorry.
Not at all. No, 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 man. And I think we've talked before. I've loved the Irish crime films like The General and Veronica
Yeah,
Guerin.
I love all that stuff.
And again, being a knucklehead from the States, it really was an education of these real things that were happening in Ireland. And I mean, really, I mean, including In the Name of the Father and some of these other very Irish, kind of films. And it's like, again, dumb farmer from Chicago. I don't know what the hell's going on in the rest of the world. What do But it was intriguing. It was fantastic. Dennis wants you to maybe do another project with Owen Marin, maybe a shorter thing.
Me and Owen were talking about doing something for sure. Owen's taking a break at the moment, but we have been talking about doing something for a good while now. Mainly, like I said, because I mentored him, and now I want to cash in on his talent.
Yeah.
Where I don't have to draw it, you draw it. No, we actually had an idea for something more based in the north of Ireland.
Oh,
But like a kind of a, I don't know why I'm saying this out loud, I shouldn't, but like
yeah,
it was kind of an espionage crime story set during the Troubles, basically. But one, that's tough project because it's so specific in a specific time in history, and there's a million stories that came out of the north, and a million interesting and harrowing stories. And but I've also talked to my mom a lot about when she was working in London in the 80s when the IRA had a bombing campaign.
yeah,
And there's a lot of stuff. That's actually been the problem is there's too much stuff. It's trying to find what would be the one, like another graphic novel or something, one story that would be that we could tell would be a good story and not cash in on any real genuine trauma. Like the Limerick thing is loosely based on a crime feud that happened in Limerick. Like that crime feud did happen, but not that way. It's totally different characters and stuff like that. So it'd be a way of doing the same. But I don't know. I should talk to Owen again, see how he's doing. But I would love to do that because I love Owen's stuff. Yeah, he's a fantastic artist. But yeah, ideally that would be the next one. But I'll have to talk to him again.
You mentioned Alien. Forgive me. Are you doing that for Marvel currently, or what do you?
I am. Don't you know, John? I'm a big shot writer at Marvel now.
I do know you're a big shot writer. I'm just I'm not. Shame on me, man. Tell me what.
No, not at all, man. I've been writing Alien for the last year now. The first miniseries is out.
Wonderful.
It's a free. It's 5-issue miniseries that's out now. The trade is out November, I think. But next month we have an annual. Do you know who Danny Earls is? He's a new artist. He's getting shared around a lot these days.
No.
Very, very good. From Ireland, actually.
Excellent.
He's drawing it, and it's second class. He has drawn it, and an Irish colorist, Ruth Redmond color, is actually an all Irish issue of Alien, and there's no Shamrock in it anywhere. I should have snuck something in, but yeah, no. So it's a one shot annual, and it's basically it's written as a National Geographic documentary, basically following xenomorphs and another alien race killing each other for 30 pages.
Yeah.
And then the next arc, which I'm wrapping up the script. I just handed in the issue for the last part there. That's called Descendant, and that's issue 1 is out in November, I believe. I think I've got all that right. So yes, I've been having a great time, like co-writing Time Before Time, and writing Alien, and writing and drawing Old Dog. Is having those have been my big 3 projects for the last year or so, and it's great to do, like, mainly doing creator owned and a Marvel gig on the side. Like, that's actually been interesting, because normally Marvel is the main gig and the creator owned stuff is on the side. So no, it's been an interesting development,
Well, again, you'll forgive me, because much like yourself, Philip Kennedy Johnson, who was writing Alien before you, it's like, I love both of you guys as writers. But yeah, it's like, I got to be honest. It's like, yeah, Alien's all right. It's one of those, it's
honestly, honestly, that's was my feeling. Like, Alien, grand. Like, I always liked it, and I have read Alien stories over in the past, but
sure.
I just hadn't gotten around to reading it yet. Philip Kennedy Johnson and Salvador Larroca's run,
right?
And then and I started reading it because I was offered a job. Because,
sure.
Well, like, it's a different thing from reading something to writing it. I'm like, that's a really cool world to tell stories in, And I read what the guys were doing. I'm like, that's really good. Like, so yeah, I didn't grow up a massive fan. As I've told other people, I was way too much of a scaredy cat to watch Aliens.
So
Alien. Yeah, no, I'm terrible.
I've only seen the first one. I've only seen the very first one. I hear you.
Second one's savage.
Well, and everyone loves it so much too. And I'm just.
I'll tell you this. Jordi Belair showed me the first one when I was 20 something, and Mooney showed me the second one. I was watching at his house, and you'll appreciate this. When I got the gig, when I was offered the gig, I told Mooney, I was like, they asked me to want to write Aliens, and he looked right at me and said, "You don't deserve it." So I took it to spite him.
Well, that's good, but also now I'm intrigued, and I promise you, by March, when we're all together at Dublin Comic Con, I will have read your Alien run, and be up to date. And because that is intriguing when they choose a writer who isn't in love with the franchise and what they do with it. And actually, that's almost a good transition to us talking about Star Trek, new Star Trek, and our frustrations sometimes with. I don't mean to speak for you, but everyone knows my frustrations with the current product.
Mm-hmm. Well, I haven't watched Strange New Worlds yet.
At all? Not even the first season?
No, none of it yet. Because I was watching the Orville when it was coming out, and I was like, I don't want to watch 2 of these shows right now. I'll save it. And I loved the Orville. I thought it was brilliant. So pin in that. But I've heard criticisms of it, but I've also heard great things. So I am going to give it a watch. But Picard season 3, man.
Yeah.
Oh God, feeling emotions.
Oh my God!
I remember when they started Picard, I was like, I do not want cameos. Don't shove in the cast from the previous shows because it's cheap, and I don't want you to do it. Bring in new characters that are good and interesting, yada yada yada. But they didn't bring in characters that were good and interesting. So by the time it came to season 3, I'm like, yeah, give me all the stuff. Give me all the dumb cameos in the world. That's what I want to see. But I thought they did a really good job with it. And I loved the set design. I loved the ship, the Titan. I loved the sets, the uniforms, and just the right amount of giving you the characters without it all just being just shoving it all together. There was story reasons for it all. No, I hope to God they do get that new show.
Me too.
I have no idea if it'll happen, but I'll be all over it.
Well, as you know, it might be 5 years before we get that show, given how long it takes for them normally to do a Star Trek series, and the writer's strike and the actor's strike. But Matalas, was a guy that started off as a production assistant, even going as far back as Voyager and Deep Space Nine, and then became Brandon Braga's assistant. He wrote a really good Next Generation Borg story that Braga, has the co-credit, but really Terry did the heavy lifting as far as the writing.
Okay, right.
And it's called Hive.
I haven't watched Voyager in a long time now, so
this was a comic for IDW.
Oh, really? Oh,
with
okay.
TNG. Yeah, with the TNG
I didn't know that. Okay.
characters, and it's quite good.
He followed me on Instagram last week, and I'm trying to I'm refraining from going, hey, like I'm trying to be cool, but and it was on Star Trek Day as well, so I just didn't want to be I might just might send a message, go, hey, big fan of the show, never mind, but sometimes those things happen, and you're like, I think one of the producers of the show, I looked him up, and I saw he followed me, and I just sent a little message going, I just want to say, great job. Not that he would care what I think or anything, but I just wanted someone to know, you know what, this is what I wanted, and thank you.
I so hear you, man. Rodney Barnes is one of the producer writers on the HBO show about the LA Lakers basketball team, and that show
right.
that unfortunately just wrapped up on Sunday, and we're due to have a new conversation. But it was, I knew him through his comic book work. And when I found out that he was doing the Lakers show, I'm like, oh my God, we got to start talking about that as well. So we did. And yeah, no, I hear you. And yeah, I love Metallus. I think, again, that's a good example of someone that loves the franchise. And yeah, I don't know what they're thinking, Deck. And until you watch Strange New Worlds, it's not even worth asking you more about it, because that I think it was a great season.
I'm not going to have an opinion on something I haven't seen. I said, I've seen criticism, and I've seen, but I think Picard is. It seems like they're trying to rectify the ship in some way, and that seems great. I'm curious if I like or how they do it. We'll see. Sorry to put a pin in that necessarily.
Not at all.
But I'm trying to, but I did love Orville.
Orville was amazing. I agree with Pete Beiser agrees with us in many ways, more Star Trek than any new Star Trek. Well, and again,
it's because they're off exploring the world, exploring space, and there's all these moral conundrums. That's what the Next Gen was, or the best Star Trek for me is here's a problem, here is the obvious solution, but here's a different solution, and actually the obvious one is it's trying to find common ground. It's trying to find solutions. It's and some of the best ones were actually social commentaries that I just do not see happening anymore. No, it was great, and especially as it got on, I couldn't believe the scale and it got to, and last season was amazing. They're basically films.
They're an hour
long,
long. Yeah, they're 70-minute episodes, so they are almost movie length. And again, they had Brandon Braga, who did 18 years of Star Trek from the Next Generation era all the way through Enterprise, so he knows how to do it. And as you say, to amplify what you're saying, Deck, they would present good debatable subjects and give equal weight to both sides rather than tell us how to think. It's
drives me mental. So much of the stuff I'm seeing, it's here's what your opinion should be. I'm I don't tell if you tell me, I'm just going to tell you to go away. But if you can present something where you're actually going to challenge my view, and I don't know what the answer is, it's far much more interesting, But that was so Orville was a real it was fortress of solitude for me. It's this is good, this is nice. Whereas I know that New Frontiers is coming out, but Strange New Worlds was coming out, but I just kind of wanted to let it happen, and then I'd check it out later, which I will now, because enough people whose opinion I respect have said no, it's good, you should check it out. So
and I absolutely would recommend the first season. I have my issues with the second. That's all I'll say.
Okay,
but that's Pete Beiser also says love the Alien universe, movies and comics. He says though he'll probably never going to see Ridley Scott finish up his new film trilogy. Okay,
which is that? I'm not sure. Was he supposed to do another one after Covenant?
I'm not sure either. All I know is probably.
I'm interested. I know there's a new one coming out, but I know is it Noah Hawley is supposed to be doing an Alien series, and I'd be more into that because I loved Legion, I love Fargo. Um, I'm very curious what that would be like because I think a different format, storytelling format, would be interesting rather than a film format that it needs to go certain places. I'm quite curious about that one, personally.
I hear you, man. And also, isn't it interesting? And I don't know if you and I have ever talked about it, but I had seen Quentin Tarantino's recent comments about superhero movies, and he's kind of with Scorsese, another guy that is like, well, in fact, it was Scorsese who said, or no, it was Tarantino who said, people that love the Marvel movies, the actors aren't really the sizzle. It's the characters. It's not Chris
Yeah,
Evans.
which is
It's
but
Captain
that's
America.
true. Like,
Yes,
hmm.
but I also think it's like, yeah, but um, it's a different type of movie, and especially in the midst of this writer's strike and what they're fighting for, and the actors as well. I really think it's because it's like, well, how come we don't have more variety in film? Well, it's not the actors and the writers' fault; it's the studio's fault. and
Yeah,
and
that's true. Yeah,
also not recognizing as we speak about these the fact that, like you're saying too, that Alien might play better in a different format like television rather than film. It's like they have to recognize that now television has kind of surpassed, I think, film in terms of providing a larger canvas to tell a more intricate story and have more character development over 6 to 10 hours, besides doing a one movie 3 hour story or 2 hour story.
yeah, I get you. I'd prefer watch a TV series, than watch a series of films. Like I like to like. I know what I'm finding these days is if I'm on Netflix, I'm like going, "Where's the night?" Like they actually have a category that's like 90 minutes um pleasers, whatever it is. I'm like, yeah, I'd actually just like to watch a 90-minute film, beginning, middle, end, story's done. I
Sure.
love my TV shows like that'll go on for seasons. I'm totally into those, but not everything has to be that, or should it be that. And look, I love the Marvel stuff too, most of it. Um,
Sure.
but like at the same time, like I do wish whenever somebody criticizes comic book films, that everybody would fucking relax. Like no one's coming after you. No one's taking your toys away. If Martin Scorsese doesn't consider like popcorn films cinema, he has every bloody right to think so, and it's fine. You can like popcorn and you can like cinema. No one is saying like it just the way people react is it's embarrassing sometimes how people just can't be grown-ups about this stuff. It
Amen.
is not to say what you like is dumb, to say that it is not cinema. It's a different thing. Like,
It's a different thing. Popcorn movie was exactly the term I used because I always go back to westerns, and
sure.
especially westerns from the 30s through the 60s that were never going to be Oscar winners. And there were, the occasional great westerns, like when Anthony Mann and Jimmy Stewart would make their very complex westerns. But it's like, no, there's that Saturday matinee mentality of, hey, I just want to see Hopalong Cassidy shoot bad guys, and those are popcorn films. And it's, yeah, and also it just the only thing I would say about Scorsese in particular, and actually Tarantino, because you could say this about Tarantino's love for those grindhouse movies of the 70s, but also where Scorsese came from, working for guys like Roger Corman and making drive-in popcorn movies for him. It's like, did you guys forget where you came from? Because yes, by all means, we want the big lofty films, but there is room for popcorn movies. I would think with the way the world has been on fire for not only during COVID, but even prior to that, that people are really reaching for escapism again. And that's what I think the superhero movies provide, is just some harmless
Quite
fun.
true. Yeah, no, but to be fair, I don't even think I heard Scorsese like give out that they're terrible or anything. It's just that it's not like cinema. Cinema is a different thing.
Right.
Like movies,
Sure.
the difference between like a film and a movie. I know this for I'm creating categories here that may not be accurate, but like sometimes I want to see something that entertains me. Sometimes I want to see something that moves me, and one is good. And one, if I want to see something entertains me, and there's something that's just gonna not, it's not gonna jive with me, and vice versa. I just think that sometimes the we as fans of the pop culture get overly protective of Like I was like that when I was a kid, because if there was any film based on a comic, I was like, oh my god, this is huge. They're going to do a Batman film. Oh my god, wow. 50 Batman films later, I think we can be less precious about this stuff. They're not taking away our toys.
Amen, man. Absolutely. No, you're 100% right.
Anyway, that's what I come to Word Balloon for. My old man rants.
Well, but honestly, Deck, and again, I got a decade at least on you, if not a little bit more. But I will say too, and I've been saying this, having this conversation where the people that disagree, it seems to me, and forgive me everybody for the generalization, but it seems that a lot of times with younger people, if you disagree with their opinion, they're put off, and it's, well, if you don't like what I like, then you don't like me and I don't like you. And it's like, hey, well, that's not what we're saying. Relax.
No, I think that's true. I mean, yeah, it's a generalization, but I think it's generally true. But it is like, but I think it's just a more intense version of what we were like when we were kids. Because like I remember, like this stuff was more precious because there was so much less of it. So I would be friends with somebody if they liked like a TV show I liked, or I wouldn't find somebody who liked comics. But now I feel that like fandom has become so kind of like segregated in a way as well. In that, like if I liked cartoons, you and somebody else liked anime, you'd end up kind of, even though it's not the same thing. Now it's like, I like anime, and someone's like, yeah, well, I like anime from the 1980s. I don't like anime after 19, and so it's people, because so much stuff is available. I think we all end up making little tribes, and sometimes it's fun, but like I do think people can get overly entrenched in this stuff when it is all basically supposed to be fun.
I so agree, man, and yeah, it is the tribalism that unfortunately has invaded pop culture that bums me out, because I did appreciate, and it wasn't that long ago, where we might have different political views or whatever, but we could all agree we love Star Trek, or we love Star Wars, or we love comic books in general. And I always got that wonderful vibe at conventions where it was like, all right, again, we can come together with this one basic thing. And I miss that, and I hope we get back to that. But
yeah, me too. I mean, as well as, especially like I see people talking a lot about the comics community. I'm like, I'm not so sure it's really there anymore. Like it used to be, but things have gotten so kind of poisoned with like everybody sharing their opinions about every single thing all the time. And I'm sure I'm guilty of it too. But it's like, I'm a big fan of like separating the artist and the work. But like, it's very hard. It's hard to do that now. When if you say love. I'm trying to think of this. Imagine you love Keanu Reeves, but then you found out that he was like some mad Republican or something, and if you hated Republicans, then that's going to color your opinion. But actually, what I like about Keanu Reeves is he's a blank slate. I don't know anything about him. I don't want to know anything about him. I mean, you have a lot of people getting more political and opinionated online. It is actually harder to just dismiss that, because you're trying to just see them as characters and whatnot. And I think we're all guilty of doing it too, and including comic creators. I just wish we'd all just shut the hell up more often,
I so hear you, Deck, and I agree with you. And
as I say, talking on a podcast, giving my opinion.
Yeah, I know, but first of all, it's you and me, and we're buds, and it's cool. So don't sweat it.
Yeah, no one's watching this, right?
Yeah, God forbid. No. Yeah, Peter Beiser agrees with us. We all know too much about everyone else's opinions. Absolutely, Peter. You're 100% right.
And it would be nice to kind of get back to a place where we're all like, not that everybody needs to like everything, if you like X-Men but you don't like Spider-Man, or you don't like, it's fine. Just let people like the things they like, and otherwise, leave me alone.
Well, and my thing is with conservative comic book people that are disappointed with maybe what they see as liberal comics, it's like, just don't hate on the other side. And I would say the same thing with the liberals to the conservatives. Just don't hate on the other side, because
it doesn't help.
Yeah, and there are unfortunately a couple creators that I used to have great conversations with, but they have taken that further step to hate on liberal creators, and it's like, you don't need to do that. And especially,
I think some people make it worse the way they're making themselves into cartoon versions of themselves.
Great.
I mean, I mean, maybe this is getting too much into things, but like, there's definitely people who I know, and the way they talk online, I wouldn't like them if I didn't know them, and I have to remind myself, this person's lovely, but like I'm only seeing, especially during COVID, you're only seeing a very kind of mean, frustrated, anxious version of them, and it's very hard to remember. Like, no, I love this person; they're great fun and they're lovely, and you're only seeing this side of them. It starts to color your feelings, and it's hard to kind of get past that. I think what is great now is there are more conventions and people are going to them. Like I went to New York Comic Con last year, and it was like a group therapy session because everybody had been through shit in the 3 years. You know,
COVID
like
years, yeah.
yeah, like I'd had a breakup, and I talked to a friend, and they had like a much more serious thing, and then they had like it was like we were all kind of like, because if a convention is once a year, you'd be like, hey, how's things, and someone tells you what happened, and you're like, oh, great. But those 3 years, everybody went through something, and it wasn't a downer that everybody had like sad stories, but I think we were all just kind of like, there was a great kind of connectivity with people. We were all, because we were all a little raw, and that's a great time to reconnect with people, is when you're kind of feeling that way. So I came out of New York Comic Con last time feeling like great. I felt, it was interesting, but it felt very cathartic and a good experience. And I think if people are meeting each other again, it's a much better way for us all to be just do the things. We're all doing the things that we love here. We're all very, very lucky to be in this position.
I so hear you, Deck, and I felt the same way coming out of my first post-COVID conventions, where it's like, oh, it's so great to see everybody, and and again, one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to seeing you and Mooney and the like, and Owen and everybody at Dublin Comic Con in March. It's been a long time since I've seen you face to face, so these have been great.
See, I saw Mooney last weekend. I'm fine.
It's not that great,
but yeah, you haven't seen it in a while. So.
Well, we'll remind everybody that, this is so great, Deck. You have so much stuff coming out, and I'm even going to solo because there's an Old Dog poster right
behind you. I very expertly, yeah. There's a JP Leon cover for Injection he did for me back when we were doing that book.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks, man. Every time someone brings up Johnny, I'm like, oh yeah, man, that blows. Great guy, sweetheart of a guy. Yeah. Well, but again, so Old Dog is out, the trade. And
let me help you out.
Yeah,
Old Dog trade. Old Dog Red Act 1, the first book is out today.
Wonderful.
If you're interested, I'm doing a big process book about the making of it, how I wrote it, the ideas, penciling, coloring. There's 4 more days where you can get that to back that on Kickstarter. And there's lots of rewards and things like that. Like I'm doing some things like sketch covers on the sketch on issue 1 of Old Dog, things like that. I'm just shy of hitting my goal. So if anyone's interested, take a look. I think that'll be cool. Alien Annual is out. I think it's October 4th.
Okay.
And then Descendants, the new series, starts in November. I can't remember the date of that. Time Before Time, issue 27 is out today, and there's 2 more issues after that, and then we're done. I think that's it.
Beautiful.
And I just started. So I just started a new project that I think will be announced in New York Comic Con.
Okay.
I can't say what that is yet, but so yeah, I'm busy.
You're killing
it. Forgetting something.
Well, I again, if more excuses for us to have conversations sooner than later, and we're.
I didn't feel too bad because I got onto a year ago when Old Dog was coming out, and like actually there's a lot of stuff out since, so it's
Yeah, no. I truly, and like I said, much like Bog Bodies, I adore Old Dog. I am thrilled, and I'm glad that you are pushing against the understanding that maybe crime comics don't sell as well. But as I've said, Brubaker, David Lappin, Sean Phillips from an art standpoint, yourself, both writing and drawing and stuff, please don't abandon it. I think it's a great genre.
Well, if you're putting me in those categories, then that's reason enough to do it.
100%, dude. No, it's beautiful. Old Dog is beautiful. It is episodic in the best way, but there is a continuing story. And I absolutely recommend it to people that have any inkling, and certainly Word Balloon viewers and listeners know that I adore crime comics, and I'm always excited when it's a quality crime comic that I can talk about. And Old Dog certainly fits the bill, with tones of science fiction as well and espionage, but it's just outstanding. So well done as always, man. And great.
Thanks a million, man.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, you too.
I'll
see you in person soon. So
absolutely. And I'm trying to think of my Rolodex calendar. Christopher Yost coming up tomorrow night. And
nice.
Coming back to comics, and I'm looking forward to that conversation. And apologies, everyone, because Rodney Barnes and Tom King were both supposed to be on more sooner than later, and scheduling conflicts on both my end and their end prevented us from talking. But it looks like King and I have definitely solidified next Wednesday night that we will be speaking then, and we'll talk about the new Wonder Woman and Danger Street and his wonderful Penguin series, all of his DC stuff there. And I'm really excited to talk to Yost and whatever he's got coming up, and of course his wonderful work in animation and live action as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All that coming up and more on Word Balloon Live. So Deck, thanks as always, and everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching and listening. Everybody stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.